Hello, I'm Matt, and I think I'm a psychic medium. I've always been interested in the paranormal and the spooky, and although I've been open to it, I've also tried to err on the skeptical side. After all, I didn't think I had any experiences, and I certainly never thought it would have any impact on my life. But that was then. Last year, I suffered a huge loss which shifted something within me. I began to feel impressions from those no longer in the physical world, and I knew things about those who are. A sense of wonder began to unfold, and my natural curiosity began to take hold. Now I want to explore where this gift will take me. In my podcast, I'll be exploring the challenges of discovering a spiritual gift, the long path of development, and how this new page of my life is affecting relationships with friends, family, and myself. As you'll discover, I'm pretty down to earth and I am not at all woo-woo, but I will be respectfully turning the spotlight onto myself to uncover why some of the more out there beliefs still make me feel slightly uncomfortable. So I invite you to join me as I explore my psychic and spiritual journey, as my inner skeptic and inner medium go head to head in The Psychic Explorer. I am really excited to start this podcast. I'm really nervous, but I am excited. Full disclosure, I have a hacking cough. I was off ill work today and I thought, I'll start that podcast I was talking about. I excuse for the rough voice. It might be quite nice actually compared to my normal voice. However, I've decided to throw my hat into the podcast ring. It's not as if there aren't enough psychic or spiritual podcasts out there, but very few of them actually speak to me. I want to know where the medium has come from, what has been their journey, what experiences have they had, and what mistakes have they made along the way. So, in these episodes, I want to go back to reflect on my journey and talk about how I feel about stepping into a world which is not always accepted by the mainstream and even sometimes friends and family. I stepped onto this journey just over a year ago, and it's been amazing, but I want to shine a light for everyone else who's on a similar path to me. I want to show that as lonely as it might be, there are other people out there who are in the same position. And I want to show people that this can be something you can include into your daily life. It can be something which you can dip in and dip out of, or it can be all encompassing. And trust me, I know that feeling. So how on earth did all this begin? I would like to invite you to take a step back a number of years to the early to mid-90s. I used to watch TV shows such as Strange But True, The X-Files, Eerie Indiana, even Goosebumps. Those scary, kiddie scary TV shows. Because the idea of a ghost or the unusual, the weird, I think for kids is always so intriguing. And I really tapped into that. I love them, and the idea of ghosts and things that we can't see simply fascinated me. My mum used to go to a spiritualist church, and she was a big believer in life after death. She believed that she had an ability, and I grew up with this always hanging in the background. Her talking about the ghosts that she saw when she was a child, or the spiritual feelings that she was experiencing as we were growing up, the premonitions, the reincarnation. Gosh, she loved her reincarnation, obsessed. And it was something which was just there in the background of my childhood, and it was normal for me. We used to go tree hugging. There was crystals in the house. There was stars and moons. I mean, it's the 90s. Everyone had stars and moons decorated around their house, but I'm pretty sure my mum was the first person to do it on our street. She was a real hippie at heart. And I remember that when mum came home from, I don't know if it was her circles or she just went to a spiritualist group. I'm not sure. She never really said too much about that. But when she came back, she would put the music on the CD player. I think it was Enya, either that or it was a Native American soundtrack with lots of chanting, quite shamanic actually. And she would guide me and my sister through a meditation. Now, I was only like I don't know, 10, 11, not even that maybe. So some people might think that's far too young, but to me, it just allowed me to relax. There was nothing harmful about it. Mum always guided us in light, and she encouraged us to seek out spirit guides and animal guides. And although when I was a kid, I wasn't sure what she was talking about. I didn't know. The wild journeys that I took in my vivid imagination back then, or what I perceived as my vivid imagination, were brilliant. And I always felt really nice when I came back out of that meditation. My sister used to go into meditation, and it used to be quite difficult to get her out of it, actually. She used to not quite fall asleep, but go really deep into it. And she still has that today. Whenever she does a meditation, she finds it very therapeutic, but she does it very rarely because she goes so deep. But because I didn't see anything ghostly myself, it was something that happened to other people, not me. My mum could see things, or so she said she saw things. She could certainly feel things. The premonitions, again, the reincarnation, these are all things which coloured my childhood. And I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I thought this was normal for everyone. It wasn't until I went to school, to a certain well, yeah, no, I guess all my schooling actually, because I was moved around schools quite a bit when I was a kid. A lot of my schools, I suddenly realized, as I grew older, I realized how unusual my mum was. And that's not a bad thing at all, but it certainly made me realize that other people don't talk about this sort of stuff. And if I talk about this stuff as if it's normal, I'm going to get looked at really strangely. And I don't think even at that age, it was even that, what's the word? It wasn't that obvious to me. It wasn't that clear to me that that was what was going through my mind. That was completely subconscious, maybe. I definitely noticed the way that my mum was bringing me and my sister up was very different to anyone else. However, despite all the spiritualism going on at home, I ended up growing up very skeptical. I remember going to school one day and having a religious education class, an RE class, and it was a CV, a Church of England school. I was there, me and my sister were there for 1 year before we moved away from it. And the teacher was talking about a local church where people were known to walk in and spontaneously laugh because apparently they had been touched by God. But of course, little old me, little naive Matt, thought of another possibility. You see, I had watched an episode of The X-Files the night before. In it, the culprit that Dana and Scully were trying to track down had telekinetic powers, and they were trying to control people who had done wrong to them. So I gingerly put my hand up. You know what? I'm actually really proud of me for doing this, because in our classes, when everyone else in the class was falling asleep and bored, I was always the one that challenged. I was always the one to put my hand up and ask questions. Well, why is that the way? Why do they do that? Why do people do this? Why is that? So I put my hand up and I made a suggestion. I said, could it not be telekinesis? Could someone in the back row not be controlling these people? And to me, it was a completely logical scenario. But this teacher, she looked at me as if I'd shot someone. She walked over to me, she picked up a Bible, and she waved it in my face and said, all that you need to know is in this book. You don't need to know anything about anything spiritual. You don't need to know anything about telekinesis. It's all wrong or it's all evil, and you should not let that evil into your life. And everyone in the class looked at me, and those who were asleep in the back row sort of said to each other, what did he say? Why? What happened? What did he say to make her react that way? And she was livid. She was furious with me for suggesting such an out there idea. And I think from that moment on, now I think about it, that I just hold organized religion, not in contempt, that's far too strong, but I do not like organized religion. I don't even like saying the word God or spirit, because to me it has connotations of religion, and it just makes me feel really uncomfortable. I think it all goes back to that time when that teacher waved that Bible in front of me and told me that all the possibilities and all the options that were normal to me at that time were evil. and that I should block them out because the Bible was the only way forward. So, as a result, I did grow up very skeptical. I didn't see my mum as weird or strange. She was certainly eccentric, but I still loved and still had a curiosity about the supernatural. But for me, there was a big difference between supernatural and religion, because in my head, the supernatural was everywhere. Regardless of what religion you believe, it all chimes in and all channels from the same place, the same source. And I didn't want anything to do with telling people what they could or couldn't do, how they should live their lives. So I completely went the other way. And with that came this skepticism. So when my mum was talking about reincarnation, I'd always be, yeah, but what if? And I start to play the devil's advocate. I'd be respectful. I think I probably could have been more respectful looking back. When mum spoke to me about spirituality or ghosts, although I was always really interested, I was always very aware that there were also people out there who weren't telling the truth, or whose people who were taking people for a ride. And what proof? I'd never had any experience of it myself. What proof was there that these people are telling their truth? How do I know that these people haven't Googled people or haven't looked on Facebook, or somebody hasn't told them about this person already, or they're cold reading or they're hot reading them? Who knows? So that's where my mind developed into. And it was like that for a long, long time. I mean, I'm 40. I'm 40 now. So I've been more skeptical. I've been skeptical for more of my life than I have been a true believer, although I have been open to it. And I think I still feel uncomfortable using the phrase true believer, because it was just normal to me. It was my normal. It wasn't even something that I necessarily did or didn't believe in. It was just normal to me. So fast forward quite a number of years, and the year is 2023, and I have a really good relationship with my mum. We're very close, and she has bought my partner a voucher for one of these weekends away, and it almost expires, so I book it, and we're on our way to Lincolnshire. Now, my day job, I get phone calls from new clients all the time, and I tend not to answer the phone at the weekends. If it's a number I don't recognize, I tend to let it go to voicemail. So we're driving, and we're probably about an hour into the journey from where we live, and it's a 3-hour journey to where we're going. And this number keeps calling my phone. And I think, blimey, these people are really desperate. I'm a gardener, by the way, so my day job is a jobbing gardener, helping little old ladies weed their gardens and mow the lawns. It's a simple job. I'm never going to be a millionaire, but I love it. I love helping people. But I do get these calls from new clients, and I think, this person's really persistent. They're not leaving any voicemails, but they are ringing and ringing and ringing. And my other half says to me, just answer the phone, Matt. Just tell them you're fully booked and you can't take any more clients on. So I answer the phone, and it's the ladies or the women at my mum's yard where she has her horses. And they say to me, you need to get back because your mum's had an accident. And we say, okay, fine, we're on our way. And they say, you need to be quick because the paramedics are here and they're trying to resuscitate her. And in that moment, my world, it did two things simultaneously. It sped up and it slowed right down. It was the most surreal, bizarre experience I've ever had in my life. And I would not wish it on anyone, because I'm pretty sure we all worry about our parents, and we all wonder, how is the end going to happen? And we all envisage, little old people in maybe a care home, or looking after them in their later years, not to receive a phone call from your mum's horse friends telling you that she's been kicked by her horse in her chest and the paramedics are trying to revive her. Just horrific. So I turned the car around on the road that I'm driving. Thank God I was on a roundabout, so I just swung right round. And I've never driven so fast in all my life. I think I was doing 90 miles an hour the whole way. Every single car just let me pass, which is really unusual. Normally in the roads where I live, people like to keep in the right-hand lane and stay there. This time they just let me pass. Everyone just pulled over and let me pass. I spoke to my sister. I let her know. Again, it was just the most surreal experience of my life. And there was a moment that I looked down at the clock and it said 12:01. And I thought, she's gone. I know she's gone. I can feel that she's gone. And I didn't say anything because I thought if I say something, I'm going to make it happen. It's going to make it true. And for the life of me, I did not. My mum was only 61 when she died. I did not want this to happen in this way at all. I want to be by her side as a little old lady, taking care of her. But this is how it was unfolding. And I wasn't there to be with her. But I could feel her. And it was 12:01. And I looked at the clock and I thought, remember this time. This is important. 10 minutes later, my sister called me because she was closer. My sister and my brother-in-law and my niece were driving to the stable yard. She had received a phone call from the paramedics, and they had said they had had to stop work on her and that she had unfortunately passed away. And I just howled down the phone. I said, I knew it. I know she's gone. I knew it. So 20 minutes later, I pull up. It's paraphernalia everywhere. Air ambulance on the field, 3 ambulances, police cars. It was just horrific. I mean, the word that I used in the days after that experience was just pure horror. Just horror. You do not understand the word horror until you experience something like that. But I felt her, and that was a catalyst for me. There was something within me. I thought, I know I'm grieving. And maybe this is normal for grief. Maybe you do feel with people you love after they die. But I can feel her. I can feel her hugging me. I can feel, not physically, but there was just something about the whole situation which was just so strange to me. And the doctor who had worked on Mum came over to us. She explained things to me, and it was just a whirlwind. I don't really remember what she was saying. Or all I really remember is that it was so wet and so windy. And I thought, my God, my mum has just died in a field and it's wet and windy and it's the middle of July or the end of July. What is this? What is going on? And she said to me, do you have any questions? And I said, what time did she die? Because I knew it was 12. I knew it was 12. I had looked at the clock and said 12:01. That's when she died. And she got back to me. She said, 12:02 is when she was declared dead. And I thought, there you go. And I know it's a minute out, but my God, it's 1 minute out. A few days later, I was sat in my front room and I was on the sofa and I was journaling. Now, I don't normally journal. This is not something that I do. I love writing. I do really enjoy creative writing. However, I was noticing that already I was starting to forget details of that day, and for some reason, I just didn't want to forget them. So I decided to write them down in a journal. I bounced the timeline off of my other half to make sure that I was getting everything correct and that I was remembering everything properly. And as I was writing, I had this strange feeling. Again, another strange feeling. I had the overwhelming sense that something was happening to Mum's body, and I thought that she was having her autopsy. So I noted in the corner of the page, I noted a time, and I had the books on a shelf somewhere now, and let's say, for example, 10:30. I thought, I'm going to note it because this is important. For some reason, this is important. And my sister came over. She has got 2 dogs, and she walks them every single day for hours on end, it seems. And she came to mine, and we went for a walk across the fields. I went for a pub lunch. And as we were having a lunch, we were talking about Mum and talking about the next steps, about her house, about the funeral. Again, completely bizarre to be talking about arranging your mum's funeral when at that, I was 39 at that time. It's just so bizarre to be talking about that to your little sister. Very bizarre. We're sat there having our lunch on this beautiful summer's day, unlike the day that she died a few days before. And the phone went, and it was the coroner. And the coroner had said, just want to let you know that this morning your mum had her autopsy, and all the signs are pointing to what we think a horse kick. I said to her, do you mind me asking what time that was done? And she said, I haven't got the exact details, but it would have been around about the 10 o'clock, 10:30 mark. So I said to my sister, I said, I knew it. I said, I just got this feeling. And I wrote it down because I didn't trust myself that I was just making things up. I was just feeling so many new things. I could see my sister in her house and she was doing things, and I would ask her, did you do X, Y, and Z today? And she said, yes. How did you know that? I just said to her, I just knew it. I could see it in my head that you were doing these things. We got my friend to do the flowers of my mum's casket. I just had this image in my head of my friend putting a hand on my mum's, because we went for a seagrass coffin. I don't know if it's a coffin or a casket. I don't know what the difference being, but on her coffin, I had this image of her just talking to mum and asking her if she'd like the flowers that my friend had chosen, and telling my mum what she was going to be doing with the coffin. And I thought, this is really weird. Why would anyone do that? Why? I'm clearly making this up, because who the hell in their right mind would go into a funeral parlour and talk to a dead body when all you're there is to do the flowers? And a few days later, I went to see my friend just to talk about the arrangement and what she had planned and what she was doing. And I said to her, oh, by the way, I had this really weird sort of like, imagine that you were in the funeral parlour the other day. And she said, oh, I was. I said, oh, okay. I imagined that you had your hand on the coffin and you were asking Mum what flowers you would like and what you were going to do with them. And she said, I did. And I thought, okay, this is getting weird now. This is getting really freaky. What is going on? Hey, I'm Matt, and you're listening to my podcast, The Psychic Explorer. If you're enjoying this episode, go ahead and like, subscribe. You know the drill. It really helps me out. But for now, back to the episode. So all these little things are adding up, and it's just, all I can describe it is it's got it's got a different vibration to what you would normally feel. It's that same feeling that you get when you are going to make a call to someone. I had this with my mum all the time. I would call her, but the phone would be engaged because at the same time she'd be calling me. And it's that same strange feeling that you get. And it's just a vibration. It just feels different to normal. It's the only way I can really describe it. I know it's really poor, but unless you have it, it's just a different vibration. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this is going on. This is really odd. But I am grieving. My mother has just been killed really horrendously. And I must be in shock. Like, I'm in shock. I am making things up. There's all a logical and a scientific explanation for all of this, because this does not happen to me. And I held that for a long time. And if I'm honest with myself, I still do. There's a slight part of me which thinks I'm making all this up. I'm crazy. And everyone around me is being super polite to me because they know that I'm in the middle of grief. And that it is all a load of hocus pocus. So I talked to my sister, and my sister is totally on board with it. She's like, yes, I totally believe that mum is communicating with you. I feel like I was getting messages from mum. I decided to start meditating. I would just feel these unbelievable, what I would describe as love bombs. When I was meditating, I would feel mum sat with me. I can describe it in no other words than just I could feel her presence with me, and I could describe what she looked like. I could feel what she was saying to me. There were messages from my sister, messages from my niece, and my sister was totally, yep, you have got this. This is something that's happened to you, and you need to embrace this because this is something that you is going to help you, and also it's something that mum's obviously given you. You know, the passing of mum has triggered something within you, she was saying to me, that you've always had, but you may have buried it for a long, long time. My partner, not quite as, I'm not going to use the word supportive because he's very supportive, but doesn't quite believe. And when you push him on it, he's like, no, it's all a load of rubbish. You're making it all, it's all being made up. But he's far too respectful and far too polite to tell me that I'm nuts and that I'm making it all up. But it's strange because even he has had experiences and he chooses to completely wipe them out. Like, no, that's what happened, but it doesn't mean anything. There's a story in his teenage years. He was on the phone at his parents' house and he looked up and he saw a woman stood at the top of the stairs. Now, anyone that knows my other half knows that he is completely relaxed. There's very little that will fluster him, and he is the most blasé person you will ever meet. And apparently he was on the phone, he looked up, and he was like, oh, right, okay, whatever. He looked away, looked back, and that person had gone. Now, he swears this happened. But if you ask him, was it a ghost? He will say, no, ghosts don't exist. But he swears he did not imagine it. So I don't know. I don't know where that leaves you. Someone that sees ghosts but doesn't believe in ghosts. So I feel I'm walking this tightrope between my sister, who is totally supportive and totally, yep, this is true, this is real, you've got to find out more about it. And my other half, who is very much not wanting to step on my toes, but also witnessing his partner go through the most horrendous grief ever. And probably thinking, this is just grief. And this is a way for Matt to let steam off. And for me, that's really challenging because these things that I was feeling, they felt so real to me. And not only did they feel real to me, but they were being validated by other people. So my sister was saying to me, yes, the things I was seeing was right, were happening. And even people not related to the situation. My friend who was doing the flowers for the funeral validated how I saw her as well. And so I didn't know where to turn because the only person in my life who had any connection to this world had died and was no longer there to tell me where to go, at least not physically, not verbally. So I started to listen to some podcasts. I found one in particular, which I will reference. I'm a Medium, Ask Me How. Amazing podcasters. And that podcast really helped me because it made me realize that I wasn't alone. I wasn't too woo-woo, that these things were possible. And then I started listening to other podcasts and started watching YouTube videos. And it's interesting because I just straight away, you hear their voice and you think, I don't gel with you. And the way, not even their voice, just the way that they read. And you think, no, this doesn't sit right with me. The way you're doing this reading just does not sit right with me because it's such a sacred thing. And I think There are many mediums out there who treat this as entertainment. And for me, it's too sacred to be entertainment. You have got people's grief in the palm of your hand, and you should be treating people with full respect, love, and compassion. So I'm listening to these podcasts while I'm working, and I'm doing meditations at home, and I'm feeling things, and I'm seeing things, not seeing physical things, but seeing things in my meditations. And I'm beginning to notice the different vibrations and the feelings that I get during meditations, which mean different things. So when it's a message for me, when it's a vision of seeing something happening within the family, and then again, later on, that gets validated. And my sister says to me, right, let's go to the spiritualist church in town. So I agree. Reluctantly, I agree. And we go, and it's all a bit strange because there's a funny smell to the place, and I don't know what to expect. And my sister, of course, being my sister, plants us right in the front row. And I'm thinking, oh, for God's sake, why are we in the front row? I don't want to be picked on. What is going on? And I guess part of me really wanted Mum to come through. Because I think by that stage, I had listened to enough, I had heard enough and watched enough to think, I think there's something in this. And if I'm honest with myself, I had always known that there was something in it. It's just my inner skeptic was stronger than my inner believer, I guess you could say. And we sat down in this old church that was built in the 1930s. The heating was creaking, the lights are banging. And it's nothing to do with the ghosts, it's just because it's an old building. And the people there, they are all sat down and they're all looking expectantly up at the I don't know what you even call it. Is it the pulpit or the altar? I don't know what you'd call it in a spiritualist church, but up at the front, basically. And the service starts, and my sister's loving it because my sister adores karaoke, and all the songs that they're singing are not hymns. They're not Jerusalem. They're not All Creatures Great and Small or anything like that. They're things really uplifting from the 60s, from the 70s, from the 80s, like power ballads. And my sister is belting it out. And straight away, I'm taken back to my school days where we're in assembly and these hymns are being sung. And because I don't believe any of it, I'm just mouthing the words because I don't want to stick out, but I don't want to say the words either because if I say it, it means I believe it. That's the sort of person I am. If I don't like something, I don't believe something, I'll go a certain way, but I will not commit to it because it's not my belief. And I'm not going to put myself in that position where I have to say or sing something when I don't necessarily believe in it. But my sister's, belting all the songs out. And she's saying, oh, I love this. It's brilliant. I might come every week because I love my karaoke and I'm getting my fix here. My other half is the same as me. A bit like, okay, what is all this? What's going on? And this guy gets up and he's bad. Like, he's really bad. I don't have very much experience at this stage of mediums face to face, but I know this guy is not good because the way that he reads and the way that he talks to the church is so forceful that he's making you take messages that are not for you. He picked on both me and my sister and my other half, actually. But he said to me, he said to my sister, oh, your grandmother's here. She's giving you a big bouquet of flowers. That means it's your birthday. My sister's birthday at this stage was 6 months before. Now, you could say, yeah, it was her birthday, but I'm afraid I want a bit more than that. And then he started telling my sister, oh, your nan has got really long black hair and she's speaking Spanish. And I know it's Spanish because I can speak a bit of Spanish and she's speaking Spanish to me. And we sort of look at him and he says, I don't care if you can't take it. That's what she is and that's what she's telling me. So your nan is speaking Spanish to you. And we're thinking, well, you haven't described our nan at all. Well, two of our nans. One was from Croydon and the other one was from Battersea. So I'm pretty sure they didn't speak Spanish because I would have known about it. But he was certain that she was speaking Spanish to us. And that was a really good experience because it showed me how not to do it and what not to be. Because I came away from that experience thinking, you're a fraud. And actually, I come away with more questions and more disbelief than what I did when I went in. And that evening, another speaker got up. They are a medium, but they were a speaker of the church, and they said that they were holding a spiritual awareness course. Now, how strange that we had gone that week, and that's the only time I'd ever been to a spiritualist church. And it just so happened to be that in 2 weeks' time, they were starting a 4-week spiritual awareness course. So me and my sister looked at each other and I said, okay, well, as long as this guy is not running it, which he wasn't, then fine. I'll go along because it was only £5 for 2 hours on a Tuesday evening for 4 weeks. If it was a load of rubbish, then I'd only lost 20 quid, and that's fine by me. I don't mind that. I've learned something at least. And that's where it began. So that was end of August, beginning of September, 2023. And it's now October 24. So just over a year. And I've continued going to that circle. The spiritual awareness course turned into a circle, which is when a group of people meet and they practice reading on one another. And then I joined another circle a few months later, back in November last year. I just had a real urge to try and do more, because the readings that I was doing at the spiritual awareness course were accurate. The people who I was reading were telling me that what I was saying was true, and that the things that I shouldn't know, I knew. And there's no way I should have known them, because I'd never met these people in my life. I was talking about the most random stuff ever. And I was thinking, what the actual fuck? What the actual fuck? I actually am reading people. This is crazy. But again, always in the back of my mind, there was this skepticism, this nugget of skepticism, which made me think, I'm making this up. Somehow I'm cold reading these people or warm reading these people. Somehow I know this. I'm clearly there's some sort of psychology involved in this, and maybe there is to an extent, but I've since had too many experiences and too many readings where I've got too much right, which I think I've now come to a point where I'm a lot more open to my own belief. So that's how it started for me. And it is said that a loss like what I experienced is a catalyst for psychic ability, for mediumship. Although we all have it in us, in some it's buried a lot deeper than others. And I think, looking back and reflecting, the fact that my mum, who was a very spiritual person, exposed me and my sister to this from a very young age, with the teenage years of bullying and schooling and conditioning and society and all that goes with growing up. But it was only put to bed. It wasn't squeezed out of me. It was only put to bed. And something as horrendous and tragic as my mum passing woke it back up in me. And I just find it so amazing that it was to the minute that my mum passed that it woke up in me. Because there was nothing before. Not that I can... Well, we'll discuss that in another episode, actually. Now I reflect back, there are other things which I think, that was strange. But at the time, I just put it to the back of my mind and just thought, it's just intuition, it's fine, it's nothing. So that's me. So, sorry to start on a bit of a downer, death of a mother and all, a lot of grief. But that's my story, and that's where I began. And it's not where I'm going to end. Although I love my mother dearly, and every time she comes through to me, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to hear someone read for you, and they can bring through your mother so perfectly, in every detail. I know that she's there. I know that she's opened this door for me, and I am willing to walk through it. As Teresa Caputo says, she said when she started her journey, if God or whoever opens up the doors, then she will walk through them, and I am willing to do the same. I'm really looking forward to telling you a bit more about the next step in my journey. Next time, I'm going to talk about the spiritualist church that I started to go to, or at least the circle, because I still don't go to the services because it still has too much connotation about religion for me to be fully comfortable. I am conscious that this can come across as a therapy session to myself, but I assure you, I no longer... It's strange, it's been just over a year, but I don't feel the same grief. I know grief changes, but because I've had this, because I feel like I've got contact with my mother, I don't feel that same loss. I don't feel that same hollow within my soul. I know she's there. I know she talks to me. I know that she guides me, and I know that I can have that conversation with her. So I look forward to the next episode. I'm going to talk a bit more about the next step that I put myself on and the strange things that came from that. And the door cracks open just a little bit more. I'm more than willing to push it back closed, I think, looking back. But it does continue to open, and I'm looking forward to telling you a bit more about that. So, take care, guys. Hi guys, it's only me. Just a quick note. You'll have noticed that this episode touches quite a bit on grief, and I wanted to reach out to those of you who may have been or are still struggling with grief. It's a very real thing, and if you do need that support, I would encourage you to reach out and grab it. There are plenty of great organisations out there who can help. If you're listening in the UK, one particularly good one is Cruise Bereavement Services. That's CRUSE. And you can call them for free on 0808 808 1677. That's 0808 808 1677. Don't suffer in silence, guys. There are people out there who can help you. I'm sending you all my love.